Hey guys, got a little project going. I got two of these 100-watt solar panels, and I'm gonna put them at the garage, and hopefully, be able to have solar power out there and not have to buy so much gasoline. So I am putting a little bit of money into this, but out there I don't have grid power, so, and with a system like this, it'll pay off very quickly, as far as what I could get out of it, buying, gallons of gasoline at $3.50 to dump in a generator. So it'll be worth my while to, with something like this, probably within, probably 2 summers, I would say I'd probably break even with this, as long as I don't have to constantly buy something stupid. But I currently have a Black & Decker, I don't have it here, a Black & Decker 750 watt power inverter. And one of the things I noticed with it is I got one of them like little P3 kilowatt meters. You plug it into the wall and it'll like tally up how many kilowatts you use, and it has like what your frequency is coming in, and I think amperage and wattage and all that kind of fun stuff. And one of the things I noticed when I plugged it into the Black & Decker power inverter is it would flash around 18, 20 some hertz when it's supposed to be 60. And if it sometimes it even say DC on the front of the kilowatt meter. So one day I decided to plug in a power filter, not like this one. This one here I think is actually a little bit, or definitely better than the ones I have. I have two Pile 1800 watt. They're like rack mount power filters. And if I plug both of them in series, like plug one into the other one and then plug my kilowatt meter into it, it actually says it's 60 hertz. It'll bounce around 59 to 61, 60. And I can't recall that I've ever tried plugging them into this, but I did plug the kilowatt meter into this one, which this one here, I don't know if you can see it. It's called a Moto Master Eliminator, and basically this comes off the same assembly line as the Xantrax 1500, and there's also another one, Simplexer. I'm probably way off on that, but I found another guy on YouTube. It's Neurolar with a number, I think, and his whole channel is dedicated to power inverters, and he seems really capable of working on electronics. So he pretty much knows what he's talking about, or at least after you watch his videos enough, you trust him with anything he tell you. But basically, one of the issues with power inverters is, and I'll just point at these, is on most power inverters, especially the lower end ones, like you get at Walmart or whatever, both of your top prongs here on your outlet are hot. Essentially, you got half line voltage coming out of each one, and then half your frequency or your modified sine wave comes out of each one. And together, they work together to produce your 120 volts and your 60 cycles, 60 hertz. And this one here is pretty much the lowest, and I think maybe there's a 1200 watt that's also like this one, but it's wired correctly. Your small prong here on here is your 120 volts. This one here is basically your neutral ground and then ground. The problem is with the ones that has both hot coming out of both is that if you try grounding it to your house, your ground and your neutral both go to the same place. So what will happen is the power will backfeed through the ground, because the ground and neutral both connected to the same spot, and then burn the inverter up. Well, okay, the biggest issue I'm having with this inverter is it's really high quality. You can tell I don't have as much humming coming out of a CFL light. There is humming coming out of them, but it's not quite as bad maybe as the Black & Decker one does. But at the same time, it doesn't like these, and I'll show you here in a minute. But I wired this big guy up in my garage. The setup I have is I have a circuit breaker dedicated to running these and the generator, and basically I'll show you another video on that. But it's backfeeding through a breaker, and I also took into the fact that I cannot hook up this ground on the Black & Decker, so the setup I have, when these inverters are running, it's not grounded. So that way I can plug this one in or a cheaper inverter that has the hot neutral and work just fine. But I have like one circuit that has 6 CFL bulbs on it, and mind you, since I'm going to be doing solar power in there, I want to have, the most energy efficient things you can put in there, which would be LEDs would be even more efficient, but they're not bright enough. Or if you buy one, it is bright enough, it's too much money. So CFL bulbs is where I want to go. And this circuit has 6 bulbs on it. And I plug this in, and I go to turn this light on, and the inverter trips out and shuts off. So, and then I have a 6 bulb tube light, like a shop light. It has 6 tubes in it, and it won't start that one up at all. It doesn't turn the inverter off, but it just won't start it. They just flicker and flash. Now the Black & Decker 750 watt with the hot neutral, it'll turn all them lights on. Matter of fact, I can turn on all of the switches with the inverter off, and even turn on my stereo receiver, which you tally all this up, it's like 400 and some watts startup, and I can just plug the inverter in and turn everything on at once, and it turns on all the fluorescent lights, all the CFLs fluorescent lights, and the stereo. And I think one day I actually accidentally had my battery charger plugged in on 10 amps and still started all this crap up. This $200 or $400 if it had Xantrex stamped on it inverter will not start up more than, it will start up 3 CFLs once in a while. Sometimes it don't want to. But basically, I hate to do this to it, but I'll show you guys. Right now I currently have 3 running, and then on this table there's 3 more. But I'll go and try to plug this in. Watch what happens. Oh, they started. Alright, well maybe because it was 3, and I did say 3 will start once in a while, sometimes they won't. But anyways, let me just turn them off. I can run an unlimited amount of CFL bulbs at one time off of this. When I was out in the garage, I had several of them plugged into it, but I basically can only start up 2 or sometimes 3 at a time. But it'll power as many as I want. I just cannot start up more than. So basically, this whole circuit in my garage, it has 6 bulbs in it. I have to break it up to at least 2 lights per circuit, because sometimes 3 won't work, sometimes it will, but you know what I mean. So this is my big problem with this thing. And it's like, I wanted more capability. This inverter here, this says 1750 on the front. If it was the Xantrex, it says it's 1500. This Neurolar guy, he did tests on it. I guess it can punch 2000 watts, so that's why sometimes it stamps 1750, because it can surge up to 2000. And then I guess Xantrex wanted to put 500 surge capability on it, I guess. So they said they labeled it as 1500. But well, there's my problems with this and the little things that I'm going through. Here I got a 3-pack of these off of eBay for like $10 and something. So see if I can get it to flash for you guys. I'm not going to do that one-handed, but anyway, it's a little voltmeter. Just reads DC current up to 32 volts. From the best I can tell, it runs on 12. So if you buy these, it has 2 power wires, one for the power of the device and then one for testing the current. I just twisted the 2 together because I'm doing 12 volt. It didn't say what it powered on. It could have been 5 volts, you know, but I powered this all night long and it didn't burn out, so 12 volts is okay with it. But it'd be nice to put up on the wall and you kind of just look at it and get a glance, see what your power levels are. But you get them in packs of 3, so my guess is that maybe they're not so good, or people mess up and wire them up wrong, and then, you know, so they give you 3 of them to play with, I guess. I don't know. But let me try plugging these bulbs in one more time and see if it trips out. There it went. See, all the bulbs went out. Did not like starting up 3 of them. I gotta turn it off. And then back on. And see, it'll start up. It started these 3 up, but one is like a 40-watt equivalent, so maybe the ballast for it's not so bad. But I did look this up, and it says something about other people's have problems with it. And from what I gather, most people that has problems with it, it's the inverters that's actually wired correctly, where you have the 120 on one side, neutral on the other. And the inverters that has the 50-50 thing going don't seem to have much trouble with fluorescent lights as much. Some do, mostly don't. But this guy here would probably been a much better inverter if they would have made it a sine wave inverter. And I kind of think that there's not just production costs involved in the smaller ones to make them so that they have the 50-50 thing on, but it kind of makes the modified wave more compatible with the CFL bulbs. With this inverter here, if you think about it, if you have an inverter that's pushing half and half out of both sides, it's not going to give a crap what its load is, because it doesn't have to have an accepted return with it. It does, but it don't. I think that since this one here has a legitimate neutral, it's measuring whatever it comes back to it somehow. And if there is a problem with, kind of like a GFI outlet maybe, if there's a problem with, you know, what it sees in return, then it turns it off. Maybe it's just too sensitive, or I don't know. Maybe I don't know crap about what I'm talking about, and so, alright, well, I'll catch you guys later, and if you have any ideas or whatever, you can leave them in the thing. So, see ya.